What's up guys, Dan Furlani here and welcome back to a new video. If you're new to this channel, there's one thing you need to know. I make videos with and about the Canon EOS R, the Canon 90D and the Canon M50. And if you subscribe, don't forget to activate the notification bell. That way you won't miss any of my future videos. Okay, today I'd like to tell you something. If you don't own a camera, but you do own a smartphone and you're not using it to make videos, you're missing out. You see, right now I'm using also the iPhone 12, and it doesn't look bad at all. Of course, it would never be like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, or not to mention a cinema camera, but it does its job, you know? If you use your smartphone, you can definitely make awesome videos. You can start your YouTube channel and make awesome content, because, I mean, it's not bad at all. And this is the iPhone 12. And there's a new one, the iPhone 13, which even has a cinematic mode that gives you some blur in the background, which you don't get here because this is the iPhone 12 and it doesn't have that option. But still, it's a great option if you don't already own a camera to start producing, to start making your own videos. You can even make B-rolls. It's good also for vlogging because its electronic stabilization is just awesome. Not as good as the one of the GoPro, but almost. Okay, this is what we get from a smartphone, in this case the iPhone 12. What if you're already doing it? You're already owning something like an iPhone 11 or 12, but you would like to upgrade. You would like a dedicated camera, not a smartphone to use for your videos. So you might want to take in consideration an entry-level camera, which is this one, the Canon M50 here. So the question is, if you already own a smartphone like the iPhone 12, would the Canon M50 be a good upgrade? Let's see. And this is the Canon M50 with a kit lens, 24 frames per second in 1080. I don't use the 4K here because the autofocus is really bad, so for me it's a kind of unusable. Here, this is what it looks like, the Canon M50 with the kit lens, the 15 to 45 millimeters at 15 millimeters. Neutral profile. It's not as bright as the iPhone. This also because the maximum aperture of the 15 to 45 millimeters is f3.5, and if you zoom in it gets even darker. This is the neutral profile, so you have some flexibility in post to make it look like a little bit different, to give it a color grade. Of course, it's not a flat profile like C-Log or something like that. If you want more flexibility in post to color grade it, and also for the highlights and the shadows to get a little bit more dynamic range, you can download and install Technicolor CineStyle. But my advice is use the neutral profile because it's pretty good, even straight out of camera. So why should you consider the Canon M50 an upgrade from a smartphone, from the iPhone 12, for example? As you have seen, you can do a lot with it. Well, first of all, it's a camera. It's not a smartphone. This is meant to be used for photos and videos only. It's supposed to be better, right? Right. Well, the sensor is bigger, and that helps a lot in terms of ability to control the depth of field, even though we don't have such a shallow depth of field here, because I'm using the 15 to 45 millimeters at f3.5, but we get some, you know, definitely more than the depth of field we get with the iPhone 12, because as I said, the iPhone 13 can give us some decent, fake, shallow depth of field, just a tiny little bit, but with this camera, you can do it much better, especially because of the other advantage, that the Canon M50 has for being a camera and not a smartphone, that you can use different lenses. Like now, for example, if I use the 24mm with the adapter, the Viltrox adapter, which is this, I can mount on the Canon M50 all EF and EFS lenses, and we can get a good shallow depth of field if we use a lens with a wide aperture. Like, for example, I can show it to you with the Nifty 50. So, can you get the shallow depth of field like this with an iPhone? I don't think so. So, as I was saying, if you're not filming and all you have is a phone, start using it, because you can produce great results. You can definitely start your own channel using a phone, especially if it's an iPhone or a good Android. If you're already doing it and you want to upgrade to something better, is the Canon M50 a good upgrade from a smartphone? Because right now you're seeing the Canon M50 with the Canon 50mm f1.8. The Nifty 50, and this is with the regular Viltrox adapter. And by the way, you find the links in the description, like to see all my gear stuff and things, my gear, and check the link to Epidemic Sound if you want some awesome music and great sound effects for 1 month for free. And by the way, we can get even a more shallow depth of field, a blurrier background. We can make it look a little wider with the same lens. How? With a speed booster. And here's the Viltrox speed booster. It adapts EF lenses, careful here, EF lenses only, not EFS. If you try to mount an EFS lens on this speed booster with the Canon M50, it would not work. It just doesn't fit. And if you hack it to make it work, you seriously risk to damage your lens and or your camera. Let's see what it looks like, the Canon M50 with the 50mm f1.8 with the speed booster. And this is the Canon M50 with the Canon 50mm f1.8, but with the speed booster. That means that now the maximum aperture gets even wider. Right now f1.2, thanks to the speed booster. I reframed it a little bit just to frame myself properly, and this is what it looks like. There's the new iPhone, the iPhone 13, that gives you a shallow depth of field in the cinematic mode. Yeah, just a tiny little bit of blurry background. It's a new feature, but if you want the real deal, a shallow depth of field, a buttery, creamy, awesome, blurry background, well, you need a camera, not a smartphone. Again, what I'm saying is not that smartphones are bad. They're awesome. It's incredible the things you can do with them, but for the time being, they're not as good as an entry-level camera such as the Canon M50. To make my point again, if you don't own a camera yet, and you do have a smartphone, start filming with it, especially if it's one of the new generation phones, Androids or Apple, like the iPhone 11, 12, 13, especially the 13. Start filming. You can do a lot. If you're not already doing it, you're missing out. If you're already doing it, if you're filming with it, taking photos, making videos, and you even started your own YouTube channel, well, keep doing it. And if you want to upgrade and you are thinking whether the Canon M50 would be a good upgrade from your smartphone, well, my answer is yes, definitely. Also considering its price. The price of the Canon M50 or Canon M50 Mark II ranges from $500 to $700, something like that. And even if you have to buy another lens, and my advice is always to get the 50mm f1.8 or the 24mm f2.8 and an adapter, the Viltrox adapter. Again, check the links in the description to see all my gear stuff and things, my gear, and the speed booster. So, well, let's see. The regular Viltrox adapter is about $35, $39, something like that. The speed booster is a little bit more expensive, but as you can see, you can make 50mm look wider. I don't know if you noticed because, of course, I had to reframe it to frame myself properly. But it increases the field of view by 0.71. So let's say 50 millimeters on a crop sensor camera such as the Canon M50 would be like an 80 millimeters for what concerns the field of view. But with the speed booster, you will get the field of view of something like a 58-ish, something like that. Much better. And most of all, the maximum aperture of this lens, which is f1.8, with a speed booster, we go down to f1.2, just like now. And you can get some awesome blurry background. And by the way, its price of the speed booster is around 120, 130 bucks, something like that. But as you can see, it's totally worth it. Alright, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.